Hey everybody, welcome. Let me know my audio is okay. I think the audio might be a little bit rough this stream just due to printing and such, but should be okay now while the printer is not working. Welcome Alexander, welcome Canrog, welcome Joe. I think I seen Mitsubishi in there once. Hey, TT83, welcome. So, yeah, I did a thing. Yeah, there's spaghetti. I just finished this printer last night, so I haven't been able to button it up. Um, I don't even know how much room I'm going to have to button up said printer, but it will be interesting. Hey, welcome. So I've been working on this for the whole week, and I was able to kind of get all the issues out of it, or most of the issues out of it last night, and get it printing for the first time around like 10:30, 11 o'clock. So, yeah, there's still some things to do on this, but it's a little bit interesting. So let me know if you guys are ready to see this printer, and I'll switch my camera view. Um, Mistakes definitely were made on this. Hey Grant, hey Roger, welcome. Mistakes definitely were made on this printer. I don't know, maybe it's a happy mistake. You guys can tell me. But I am happy with how it turned out, and I think this makes sense going forward. So I will swap the view here so you can see. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but we'll see what you guys think on an initial first glance. I'd be interested to see if anyone can catch my mistake. It might not be too obvious. And the main board does go in the top. There's a top cover that goes over top of this. So there is this home for this stuff. I just haven't had time to fit it in there and all that kind of stuff. So far, it's really awesome. But I'm going to see if you guys can catch the mistake that was made on this printer. But yeah, I've been printing with it this morning and last night, and it's going pretty well so far. I do have some pretty big tweaks that I need to make to it, I think, to make it even better. But so far, I'm pretty happy with how it's working. So the bill of materials right now for this sit around $240 US. So it's relatively inexpensive. But this version, there might be a couple changes or anything like that, but I think it's should be about $100 cheaper than a V0. I would have liked it to be cheaper, but it's obviously going to be much cheaper if you have motors and stuff like that, of course. But no, it's not speed so far. It's definitely not speed. You're kind of in line with it, but the printer is actually only 70 millimeter build area. And that's not because of anything like one thing. I made the frame too small. I made the frame in CAD like 6 months ago, maybe even a year ago. And this is as big a frame as I wanted to get, which is 180 millimeters. I wanted it to fit on like an Ender 3 very easily and not be really constrained like the Rook was. So the top and bottom pieces here are 180 millimeters square. And it's not because like it hits on the sides, it's everything is too small. So it's 70 millimeters build area on this printer, and maybe I should release this version on printables for like this is a true micro printer. Like this thing is tiny. Like this is my hand. This is a spool right beside this printer. It is small. But it's not small because like the arms are not long enough or, you know, it's too short or something. It's just I made it too small, the whole thing too small. So yeah, you were kind of right. It's not hitting anything. It's just it should have been bigger, which is fine, but it will print a Benchy. So we'll get a Benchy printing on this guy. It prints quite well, but we need to, I need to lower the extruder here. You guys can't see it, but the Bowden is really, really tight. Like, so there's some things that are not correct, but let's get a Benchy going. The cooling fan is potentially a little bit loud, but we'll see here what I can do. Well, first what I'm going to do here is let's just see how a Rolo Cube, how long it's going to take. Yeah, let's do a Rolo Cube. And we'll go from there. So, like I say, let me know if you guys can't hear me or anything anymore, because I know the fan does override my mic a little bit there, but tall-wise, this thing is actually fine. It's not the height that's the big deal. It's just the frame needs to be bigger. And yeah, I'll probably make the frame 40 to 50 millimeters bigger. Will definitely help for sure. I'll move my camera over so you guys can see, you know, get a bit better idea on how small this thing is in perspective. So I don't know if you guys want this small version also. Like this would have a separate name and it would have a separate printables page. It's pretty adorable, but it's 70 millimeters by like 90 millimeters height is the printable area. So you guys let me know if you want to see this version. I'll call it something unique. It is small. As long as our first layer looks okay, I'll show you a V0. So like this is how big a V0 is compared to this printer here. Like it's minuscule. I'm using Aegis bearings, so it's very quiet, very, very quiet. I will probably do a 300 millimeter or 250 millimeter version eventually with 2020 extrusions. This is kind of like a Rook style, all printable. So it's, you know, this is fully 3D printed and it's got less parts than the Rook does. There's only like 45 screws in the whole printer. The bill of materials is tiny. It does work perfectly. It works really, really well. Like I say, the Bowden path is not right. You can see right here, it's got a really extreme angle. I need to lower my extruder. But it does print very well, and I'm very happy with most of the printer. It needs a couple minor tweaks here and there when I scale it up. I also didn't put any clamps on these Aegis bearings, so they're loose. Surprisingly, it doesn't affect the print quality that much, which I was a bit shocked. So 250 on this one, 250 rods. So yeah, I'm happy with the linear rods. I do need to design some clamps for the Aegis bearings so the tolerance is a bit better. And this is printing at 10K acceleration. It's pretty quick. I haven't pushed it to its limits yet. I'm still, like I say, I have like maybe an hour, 2 hours of print time on this guy. But yeah. So I gotta fix the extruder. Definitely is too constrained. And my Bowden tube, I think it's not a Capricorn tube, so I can see the filament like moving in the tube when it's retracting. So I need to get Capricorn tubing and stuff. So the rods are 250. I think it's like 270 tall, 280 tall, and then the base is 180. It's tiny, this one. The real version will be about 40 to 50 millimeters larger. So I'm gonna make the base larger. I'm gonna have to cut the base. So like there are gonna be a cut right here and there'll be another printed part that goes in the middle, kind of like Bastion. It's still gonna be very small. 70 millimeters circular by 90 tall. It'll print a benchy, that's about it. You don't really need to do bed leveling. You can do a bed mesh, but it's not really necessary. And definitely not necessary on this. And yeah, once you calibrate the delta, it's done. You never have to calibrate it again. Because this printer is so small though, like a benchy is ever so slightly skewed. In kind of like every direction. You can't tell in person. It's not going to be a big deal. This is not printing mechanical parts. This is meant to print like benchies, Cali Dragons, Rolo rockets. Like this is the calibration print. This is how small the calibration print is. So this is a Clipper Advanced Calibration STL, and it's so small. 200 millimeter rods would work. You'll lose, obviously, a little bit of build area. I can make this taller without increasing the rod height. These rods go all the way to the bottom, and I can add 10 millimeters to that. So definitely there's some more build area to be had, even in this size. Yep, all PLA. Rods, the rod arms are fully 3D printed, except you got to order some ball joints, which are like $10. Yes, you can definitely compensate for the skew. On this small of a printer, though, it's very difficult. The 120, like the real version, will be fine. You'll be able to compensate for skew even more, but the calibration print is so tiny that the skew calibration is not great enough, if that makes sense. Again, it's not going to affect anything. You're not printing Voron parts on this or like 3D printer parts on this, so the skew doesn't matter. And like I say, you can't tell. Like I printed out this cube here. It is 20 by 20 by 20. It's just like I say, it's just a hair off. But the full version should not be that case. Yeah, ceiling to floor would be hilarious. Yeah, exactly. It's meant to print tiny models, superficial, fancy kind of organic models and benchies and calibration tools and toys and fidget spinners. Like, that's what this printer is made for. I will have a bill of materials, Cameron, on my Discord for this. I already have a bill of materials for this. And the only thing that's going to change on the bill of materials is the rods. That's the only thing that you have to change for the full size version or the 120 size version. So So I'm going to go to 300 millimeter rods, and then the base, like I say, will be probably 40 to 50 millimeters larger. There's no other parts you need to change because everything's printed. These are very good. I did order a bunch of different rods, so I was going to try these. These have too much play, these plastic ones. These ones right here are very high quality and actually have bearings in them. There's no play in them at all. Yeah, in person, this thing is like really adorable. I think it would even surprise you in person how small it is. So it was a happy accident, kind of. I definitely did not want to make it this small, but once I got 90% of it assembled, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not going to be 120 by 120. And yeah, that's pretty obvious, but I now know at least how to get to 120 millimeters. So yeah, I'll probably put this on printables, and I'll call it something. You guys can put names in Discord or in chat what you think I should call it. I have a name for the normal version, the 120 version already, which I'm not going to reveal yet, but you could do 350. 350 would be taller than you need, I think, but 300 will definitely get the 120 version. This one is too small. This is it's a 70 millimeter by 70 millimeter printer, right? It's just for normal little tiny parts, right? You're not going to fit anything on here. Like, you can just barely fit a benchy, and I mean just. Yeah, and I mean the accuracy is not that far out. Like, this cube is 20 by 20 by 20, but when you print a benchy, like I'm comparing a benchy print to my Pegasus printer, and if you put them side by side, they're like 0.2 off, right? It's 0.2 millimeters off. It's not, it might not even be enough to care, but it is definitely off. And I'm not run input shaper on this, obviously. I didn't have time. I haven't even installed the cooling duct on this thing yet. So here's the cooling duct for this. This printer has a 50-15 fan on a printer this size. And Mitsubishi and anyone, this is double shear. There are bearings. So it's full double shear on the motors. So the full-size version, of course, will double shear as well. Support, so it's bearing supported. Exactly, yes. You can do a 0.2 nozzle on this, would be pretty awesome. So yeah, bearing, the motors are fully supported by bearings at the end of the shaft. That was incorporated in, and it also made a really nice aesthetic choice. You can accent the plates. It's very easy to build too. Like it's a very easy printer to build. It's really weird because designing this printer in CAD is more complicated than Core XY, but building this is easier than Core XY in real life, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, double shear on a Delta for sure is very important, and I mean, I'm sure double shear in a printer in general is very important if you can fit it in. So obviously it's very simple to do on a Delta, so I put it into a CAD right away. But yeah, I still got to tune input shaper or pressure advance on this, flow. I haven't even tuned the extrusion multiplier. Like, I don't even know if I'm over or under extruding. I just didn't have time. But yeah, it's pretty adorable printer, and I think it's pretty cool. It's about $240 US. If you already have motors, this uses normal NEMA 17, nothing special. If you already have motors, you could get this below $200 US. It's a very inexpensive printer. There is a top for this, which is magnetic. I don't have it printed yet, just due to time. So there'll be a top on here, which gives you 10 millimeters of clearance at the top. This will run a V02W, and a Big Tree Tech Pico goes at the top, and then you can put the top plate on. So, yeah, I'll post the BOM right after the stream. I have it in it's already completed. Oh, I've got lots of them. You can use, yeah, 34 would be okay. You can use 34, 40, 42, and 48 will fit in here. Yeah, Canrog, you need to order like the ball ends, and that's it. You don't even need the rods, they're printed, so you just need the joints. I'll show you what they look like. So this is all that the rod is. It just threads into the arm. It's just M3. Belt tension is right here on the screws. You can't see the top, but I'll see if I can maybe give you just a little bit more height here. Yeah, you can kind of, I don't know. Might not be better, but yeah, M3 bolts at the top. So really easy tensioning. M3 bolts right here, works perfectly. There are actual 20-tooth idlers in here, like inside the top here, and they're obviously supported with an M5 bolt. These are like really cheap Amazon motors, and I do get some layer shifts on these at 0.6 amps. They're not the greatest, but, and like this is under extruding because of my Bowden setup and whatnot, but no real issues with the design itself. It's more so just where my extruder is located. So I'm going to fix that before I release the CAD and the parts. But deltas have skew by default. You calibrate the skew out, but this is too small to run a full calibration or to do it properly because the calibration part is too tiny. It's literally, this is like 40% size. So you want to, when you do a delta calibration, you want your calibration tool to be full size or even larger would be better. The smaller you make your calibration, the smaller changes it can make. So it's just not changing enough. And like I say, the skew is not enough to care on this size. And I'm pretty sure that the skew will not be there when you build the 120 version because it will be able to print a calibration tool properly. I'll eventually make a 2020 version, but it will be like a 250 or a 180. I don't know yet. That'll be a totally different printer. So there's going to be this little guy, and then there's going to be the 120 version. Yeah, the larger one's going to be 250 rod. Because I have to make the arms longer by about 50 millimeters, so that I'm going to also increase the height by 50 millimeters, and then the base by 50 millimeters. It should actually be very similar to the size of this guy, to the V0 then. And it should have a like 110, 120 build area. But yeah, 300 millimeter rods on the real version. Yeah, I don't know, this filament's really weird, or this, I need to calibrate my extruder, because we're definitely under extruding on this, but. And then the belts use clamps, no zip ties, very easy to clamp the belts. Yeah, pretty much, Cindy. It's like it's a small printer, like smaller than you would normally maybe find useful, but I think some people might enjoy it. It's a really fun build. Uh, and I mean, it's kind of along the lines of the Rook being fully printed, fully 3D printed. And the arms are so short, like printed arms make sense because they're so small. Yeah, a .2 nozzle would be really awesome on this thing. It is a quick little printer for sure. But yeah, this calibration cube, this Rolo cube here, will come out to 30 by 30 by 30. Like I say, the skew is not crazy. And on a larger 3D printer, you can definitely calibrate that much better. I'll also note too, on this printer, I did a delta calibration manually with a piece of paper, not a probe. It's possible I could get a better calibration with my probe, or with my delta probe. 300's a bit big. I'm not really into that size, and deltas in that size, you got to start getting into 2040 extrusions and just things that maybe aren't as standard. So I want to make a 2020 extrusion printer that's pretty rigid, so I don't want to go too big. This definitely would fit in a carry-on, for sure. No, actually, everything is from the ground up brand new. The effector on this thing is really small. This has totally different cooling. Yeah, Phoenix had like linear rails and all sorts of different stuff. So, but it's weird because I was printing like, this is a benchy that I printed on different filament, and I wasn't under extruding. So I don't know why this filament is under extruding. Actually, it's probably not printing hot enough. It's probably why. So we'll do another print for you guys, and I'm gonna bump the temp up quite a bit. Bamboo clone hot end, just to keep the cost down. The annoying thing about the bamboo hot end is the little Triangle Labs nozzle probe for deltas doesn't quite fit, like the foam doesn't fit on the nozzle that great. So maybe a CHC, like a little Triangle Labs CHC would be good for this too. But again, I wanted to keep costs down as much as possible, so it's a bamboo hot end, of course. So $20 hot end. Yeah, OEM or clone, both will work fine. So yeah, there's definitely a bunch of under extrusion on this, but I'm pretty sure, I think this is a 30, yeah. So like this is a 30 millimeter cube, and it's 30.3 on X, 30.6 on Y, and 30.3 on Z. So Y is like 0.3 out. It's not that much. So, but I need to print hotter, I think, because of under extrusion. So it uses optical end stops, as you should on a Delta. You should be using optical on a Delta. So 3 opticals on the top. They're very inexpensive, and definitely you want to be using those. So let's just print another small part here, which is really easy. I'll print a cube, just a 20 by 20 cube, but I am going to bump up the temp here because I really think that this filament wants much hotter temperature. So let's just see if we can get that print going off for you. Hey, Onifab, welcome. Yeah, just 3 optical end stops. Very, very easy, cheap. They come in packs of 5 usually. Also, there's a bunch of tuning that I can still do on here, like TMC driver tuning, so that even the end stops are more accurate. You can do end stop tuning to make deltas more accurate. Like, I haven't done any of that yet. So I kind of need to do a whole bunch more calibration on this, but I need to get it on a V0 first. Yes, I will put this up on printables. Just note that this is a tiny 70 millimeter print area printer. This isn't the real version. The real version will be 120 by 120. Yeah, Delta Doodle, like, I definitely need a name for this because it's going to be its own. Cable management hopefully should be better. There's going to be a tray on the back for the motor wires to come up into the main board up here. There'll be a V0 up here, and then all of this wiring should be able to go under the top cover. So, well, this is a tiny Delta, so and if you want to print like slow on this printer, Stealth Chop is like silent. I'm running spread cycle, so it's a little bit loud right now. But if you're not going for speed, spread cycle on this printer is so quiet. And I'm running actually 16 microsteps. I could go to 32 to quiet this down quite a bit. Yeah, I had some silk. This is like a gold silk PLA, and this is eSun purple PLA Plus. That Tiny 3 is pretty good. To build the printer, I mean, this printer builds really quickly. Maybe an hour, 2 hours to build. Like, it's very simple. To design the printer, it's a bit hard. Because I made the frame in CAD like a long time ago. And then I just finished it off this week, but there's probably 100 hours of design. Yep, Big Tree Tech Pico. Pico is probably the biggest you'll fit. You could maybe put an SKR Mini in here, but the mounts are made for a Pico. The only thing I hate about the Pico in this printer is the ports come out sideways, which I hate. But yeah, it's running Clipper for sure. So a V0, you can put a V0 on the Pico mounts, so it all fits in the top here. But like motion-wise, like I say, the IGES bearings are not like clamped down properly. They're loose, and honestly, the print quality is very impressive. So I need to maybe try to figure a good place to put some just single clamp on each bearing, just so you can just adjust the tension of the IGES bearings a little bit more. You could run LM8UU bearings. They will be very noisy though. So I do recommend IGES bearings. Yeah, I have one right here. This would work. The problem is the height. So, well, this is the RGB version or whatever, but it's actually quite tall. It's the same like footprint, but I think it's too tall, honestly. But you could make a taller cover if you want to. A Pico would definitely be my most recommended. Yeah, Clipper makes deltas a breeze. Clipper calibration is so simple. Yeah, I'll see if I can get a better view for you as far as printing. And see if I can just put my Wubin light there for you. I don't know if that'll make it easier to see or not. You let me know. It's a little bright, but it does print very well. Yeah, input shaping is the same. So I just don't have any holes on the effector to put my input shaper. So again, there's a lot of little things I want to do. I have a FISEC little input shaper board that will go under the effector, and I can do input shaping. I'd love to run like Shake Tune input shaper on here, but it's not supported on my laptop because I'm running multiple versions of Clipper, which sucks. And I can't use TMC Auto Tune feature because it doesn't support multiple instances of Clipper. So I need to get everything on my V0 or on my Pi Zero so that I can run all that stuff. It's HGX Lite mounted on the back. And it's very, the Bowden tube is very kinked, or like the bend is very tight there. People will definitely be very easily to put whatever extruder they want on here. A belted extruder like the Paplio or whatever it's called, belted extruder would be cool. BMG clone extruder, HGX Lite would work. Because the extruder just hangs off the side of the printer, you can use whatever you want. HGX Lite is the cheapest, so that's kind of what's in the bill of materials. Yeah, you can use an old board. Yeah, an 8-bit board with Clipper will still run this fine. You might be limited in like crazy speeds, but honestly, for a printer this size, you don't need to print crazy fast. Yeah, you can see the end stop flags on the ends here. This little pointy part, that's a flag that goes up into the optical sensor for homing. It won't matter on this. The weight doesn't affect the printer at all, so there's a lot of weight in the bottom. The motors are in the bottom of this printer, so all the weight is at the bottom, so you can hang whatever you want. Yeah, BMG will be perfect for that, certainly. There's two holes in the back here to mount an extruder mount, so mount it however you would prefer. The Bowden on this printer is like very tiny, so my retraction is only 1 millimeter. It's almost direct drive for the Bowden because it's such a small Bowden tube. The Bowden tube is probably like 100 millimeters. It's very small. And this is printing 10 degrees hotter, so I'm hoping that the under extrusion will go away. But you can put whatever extruder you want on here. It's Bowden, so I don't know if you'd want to do that, but it will accommodate anything because it's just outside. You can mount anywhere you want. Yeah, with a small modification to the mount, you can run a Sherpa extruder on here. Sherpa mini extruder will be fine too. There is no room for a. I really don't think you could. There's just no room. I mean, I somehow fit a 50-15 fan in the back, but like. And the Bowden is so short, there's no, I don't think you gain anything from doing a flying extruder or like a direct drive extruder. The Bowden is so small on this. Yeah, that's much better. So, I'll try to show off. Like the layers on this printer are insanely nice. I don't know if you'll be able to see there. Again, no pressure advance tuning on this. I'm going to turn off this light because I think it's washing this out quite a bit, but no pressure advance tuning on this. And like I say, the cube, this is a 20 millimeter cube. It's 20.2 on Y, 20.1 on X, and 20.3 on Z. It's not really far off. It's definitely very functional for sure. Yeah, the $10 Ender 3 extruder, it sucks, but if you print slow, it's okay. Oh yeah, the slice hot end. Thanks, Noah. Yeah, it needs a little bit. Like I did throw in just a random pressure advance number, but it's still too low. I'm running 0.2, probably could go to 0.4 maybe pressure advance. But like honestly, the layers and walls look really, really, really nice on this printer. And I don't know if you can see this, but I'll try to lower this down. The bearings are loose. Like I'm not clamping the bearings at all. So if I turn the motors off here. So like these wiggle, and it's not translating really into the print. So again, I would like to put in like just a single screw clamp on each corner, but it's very impressive. LDO, that is a Fabrico MK1 in the background. But yeah, it's a Fabrico kit. MK1 Rook. So yeah, like there's definitely some play. So you can see the extruder moving. That's how much play there is in these Aegis bearings, because I'm not clamping them at all. But during printing though, it doesn't seem like that really affects anything. So I don't know. Modeling some clamps in here is not a big deal. It will hurt the aesthetic a little bit, unfortunately. So I'm still kind of experimenting with prints and things like that. And I want to run input shaper on here, and some tuning features and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little tiny printer. I move my see it a little bit more there, but it's I made it too small. That was the mistake. I made the frame a long time ago in CAD, and I didn't really test anything. I kind of just like, yeah, I know this is gonna work, and it's it's tiny. Oh yeah, no, the build on this is very straightforward and simple, and maintenance should be very straightforward and simple. The belt path is just straight up and down. It's so easy to assemble this. There's nothing you can really get wrong, right? Like it's easy to align the belts. Um, the motion with the weight down low is very stable. It's just a really good printer. Yeah. Yeah, it's big enough for a Benchy and other little models. My Rolo Rocket will fit on here, so you could print out the parts for this guy, of course, the Rolo Rocket. I've been lazy and that's not on printables yet, but Rolo Rocket will fit on this because it is a multi-part print. Part 2 Clipper install video is done. I just have to throw it in DaVinci, do a quick edit, and upload it. It's complete though. And the series is done. It was only 2 videos. That's how easy Clipper, like modern Clipper install is. So look out for that this weekend probably. I've got a lot of stuff to do. FISEC sent me a V0 to build. So I have to build another V0 and make some videos on it. I've got to build another one of these in the normal size, but I've got to order some joints. I didn't order enough to build 2 printers because why? Yeah, this would probably print upside down for sure. Thanks for joining, Mitsubishi. See you on Discord later. Good luck with your exam. Is that what you said? Yeah. Good luck with your exam. But yeah, I think this will be, once I get all the wiring buttoned up and have the top on it, it's going to look even cooler. And it's very, you can accent the parts on this printer really cool. 70 circular by 90, 82 to 90 millimeters tall. It'll print a Benchy and other little things like that. The normal version for this was intended to be 120 by 120. So a bit more useful size. But I made a mistake and it turned out way too small. But it's still adorable and it's still pretty cool. So I'll probably call it teeny or something and put on printables. This will be its own like version you guys can build and modify and have fun with. It's going to be its own thing. Wiring, you won't be able to see the wiring because there is a top panel for this printer. I just haven't had time to print it out. The base on this printer is about like a 4-hour print on my Bamboo. And then the top is a 3-hour print on my Bamboo. So it will be a pretty long print on like an Ender or something like that. But it should be easier to print than a Rook frame. But I still recommend using glue stick. Make sure there's no warping and stuff like that. You don't need really any cooling, much cooling on these parts. There's no like overhangs. So, but Yeah, maybe tiny with the 3 in it. I don't know yet. Post some names on Discord and we'll try to figure out the most popular one. But yeah, it is minuscule. Minuscule would be a pretty good name, or Min, just Min, M-I-N. It's got 3 letters. That actually, I kind of like that. Just Min, M-I-N. 3 letters, really short, short for minuscule. I think actually that one I like the best. So yeah, let me know on Discord what you guys think. Tiny, Min, Tiny, Delta. Vote for whatever name that you would like. I'm pretty bad with names, as you probably know by now. Um, I mean, I could put this on printables now. It absolutely works. I just need to tweak the extruder, I think, a little bit. Um, like the mount. And that's kind of it. So the only thing I'm very unsure about is, will this Pico fit where I want it to go? With end stops in here, with a V0 in here, and all that kind of stuff. Riffraff, that is the name of the full-size version. I am calling it Delta Flyer because it's a small kind of shuttle like in Star Trek on Voyager, and it's a really cool, like they built a really fast high-performance shuttle on Voyager. So Delta Flyer is actually the name of the normal 120 version. It's going to be called Delta Flyer, you guessed it. You win 100 points that are useless. But yeah, Delta Flyer is going to be the name for the 120 version. And then, yeah, this name could be whatever. But yeah, I haven't mounted the Pico in here yet. The only reason why it's not mounted in there is because I'm running this off my laptop. I have a Pi Zero for this printer, but the Pi Zero can't do input shaping, especially with my accelerometer, because it's USB-C and the Pi Zero doesn't have a USB-C port. I could use a hub and all sorts of crazy stuff, I'm sure, but I'm going to, I would like to try to get the Pico in here and see if like there's enough room, ideally. Yeah, honestly, the bill of materials is going to be identical. Just the rod length is the only thing that changes, the linear rods. That's it. There's no other changes to the bill of materials. Everything's the same. Bearings are the same. The belts are even the same, really. I spec'd out 4 meters, and I think this only uses 2. So, yeah, it's pretty hilarious how simple this printer is on parts list, too. The parts list is much smaller than a Core XY. So yeah, I would like to get the Pico in here and get my V0 mounted. The V0 goes under the Pico because there's not enough room to run the V0 with the UART cable. It like sticks up pretty high with the top cover. I don't want a really tall top cover. I think it'll look dumb. So again, the boat in here definitely needs to come way down and stuff like that, but Kapton tape. It's just using Kapton tape. So I had the idea to make this build plate magnetic. The magnets did work, but the bed could still move slightly. So it's just 3 M3 bolts. You can unbolt it really easy. Yeah, I like the name Min. I like the name Min for this. And it's 3 letters with like 3 motors. So I don't know. Min is my favorite so far, but yeah, Mini with the 3. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need a 3. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on names, but Min is just so simple. I like how it rolls off the tongue, and it's a tiny little name too, so it's kind of fitting. But um, what else can I tell you about this guy? Yeah, it's I don't know if I can show you how much room is on the bottom. So there's what the bottom looks like. So there's space for larger motors. These are 40 millimeter motors. So 48s should fit fine if you want to go insane. 42s, 48s will fit. Of course, you can go smaller. And then, like I said, this has double shear, so there is an F695 bearing, 3 of them, to support the motor shafts. I wanted all those features in the Delta, and they have all those features. Well, if I name it Min and it goes on printables, it's gonna stay that name. But yeah, so I just don't know if the Pico will fit in the top, and this is a 3-hour print, like this top piece. I don't want people having to reprint the top if I change stuff. So I'm going to test fit it if I can this weekend. And then I can get the parts out for you guys sooner. But like the CAD and stuff is, I mean, it's pretty sorted. And like I say, I mean, ideally I could make a little clamp for these, but this is not really translating into the print. So like at full motion, I don't know if that affects anything. So far, it seems to be pretty good. But I need to do more prints and testing before I know that for sure. But yeah. I just wanted to make a quick stream for all you to like really showcase this printer and show it off. See what you guys think of this really minuscule version of it. Like I say, this is not the actual Delta Flyer version. It will be more similar to the size of a V0. This will probably grow by 50 millimeters in each direction and have a print area of 120 by 120 is the idea. And all I have to do in CAD is split this down the middle and just make a printed part that goes in the middle of each corner. That's it. And all the parts are the same. So I'm going to order some ball joints on AliExpress for this so I can build a second one. I kind of want to keep this assembled. So I would like to get some more ball joints. I'll probably have to get another Big True Tech Pico because I don't have a spare. And you know, order like some more IGES bearings and things like that for the final like Delta Flyer big version or normal size version. It's not going to be big by any means, but and then yeah, eventually I will make a 2020 version of this. I don't know what size it's going to be, 180, 200, maybe 250, but I don't know. 250 is it's getting up there for a 2020 Delta. And I would like to make a smaller, like maybe 200. I think 200 size Delta printer would be really neat. And now that I have this, I can scale it up to some extent, but then I will be adding like 2020 extrusions and things like that just to make it a little bit stiffer and maybe some linear rails. I don't know. That's way in the future. I like the rods on this. They work with the form factor. 2020 wouldn't be able to do this small. Yeah, potentially, Rob. I could do another version. So this is 180. You need basically 180 build area to print this version. So if I make it 50 millimeters, you would need a 230 printer. So any 250 and up size printer would be able to print the full version. So I could print the full size version on my X1 as a single part, but yeah, there could definitely very easily just be a top and bottom for a 250 size printer, and then you don't need to joint. It will be a relatively long print though. I think if I go Rocky Mountain Joe, I'm driving. So I'm going to drive and take a bunch of printers with me next year. Yeah, 8mm rods. This version they're 250, but the other version will be 300. So you'll gain an extra 50mm of build height, and then these rods go all the way to the bottom. I'm gonna move them up 10mm, so you'll get a 60mm increase on build height of the Delta Flyer version of this. And yeah, it's not going to equate to being a much bigger printer, so. No, I didn't use triangular infill. It would have been cool. I just used rectilinear just because to prevent warping. It's like the best infill for warping, I guess. So, um, yeah. But it should look a bit cleaner when I get the. I'll put some pictures on Discord and stuff like that of it, like with the top on it and stuff like that. And I've got to order some parts, and then while I'm waiting for parts, I'll go back and focus on RC 150. I got to put some new parts into it and whatnot. But yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys thought of this size. It's like I say, it's tiny, tiny, but because it's so small, it's pretty adorable, and it will fit beside your computer. Like you could just have this printing beside you, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I guess if anyone wants to beta test this printer, I'll give you parts right now. But I wanna try and um, fit the Pico in here first and stuff like that. Triangle, yeah, aligned to the axes would be stiffer. Uh, yeah, it's pretty awesome little printer. I do have a cutout here in the back for like the motor wires to come in. So like I say, the motor wires will run up the back in a cover that you could print, and then they will go into the side here on the back. There's a cutout, and then there'll be a top cover, and all the wiring mess will be in the top. I can give you the bill of materials definitely today. Right after stream on Discord, I will put the bill of materials. I'm pretty sure I have everything on there. I've got the arms, the bearings, motors, rods, Aegis bearings, fans are on there. All the bolts are on there because the bolt count is so small, like it's all on there. The only thing I forgot was the M5 idler bolts. Yeah, I'm to be honest with you, I'm over Core XY. I'm gonna do deltas and cross gantry printers going forward. Um, Once Pegasus and RC150 are done, I'm not gonna be doing Core XY for a while. Or I'm just over the belt path and stuff like that. It's so much simpler to make a delta and a cross gantry printer because the belts are straight. It's just nice. I really, really do like it. So I had a lot of fun designing this printer, a lot more than designing Core XY, just because like the belts took like 5 minutes to do on this. How much do the Aegis bearings cost? They're not expensive. I think 6 of them. I think 10 of them is like $15. Yeah, you can get even cheaper. On Amazon, they're really cheap. They're not expensive at all. I don't know about all-wheel drive HBot, but yeah. I've got designs in CAD already kind of done. You'll see them, but cross gantry has, the belt path for one is massively simpler. I have my cross gantry printer under this table called Defiant. The belt's much, much better. The gantry potentially is more rigid on cross gantry. The belts don't go to the tool head, which is really nice. Yeah, the belts in general are much better with cross gantry, and you can make a cross gantry printer bigger because the belt path is smaller. And I wanted people to get into deltas, right? I want people to build a delta and not be afraid of it. They're really, really cool printers to watch printing, to build. They're much simpler than Core XY. And they're inherently very stable because like in this version, the motors are on the bottom. And what's cool about this printer is the motors get a little bit warm, so it heats this plate up just a little bit. So it helps with adhesion a little bit. So Core XYZ is too complex, I think. Yeah, no, I want to go more to simplicity, deltas and cross gantry printers. So, but that's kind of what I wanted to show off to all of you today. I do have LAN party today, so I'm just doing a short stream for all of you. I think we had like 65 concurrent viewers on this stream. If you want to support all my crazy stuff, check out my Patreon. And I will give you guys the CAD and parts for this here very quickly. Like I say, I want to just try and mount the Pico up here and see if that works. And I mean, there's not even much ringing without Input Shaper on this, but I would like to try to get Input Shaper working on this to some extent. I just don't know if you can do Input Shaper on a Pi 02. I know you can't do it on a 0, but maybe a 2 can run Input Shaper. I know a 0 can't. Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows that. Can a Pi 02 do Input Shaper, like calibrate it? I know it can run Input Shaper, but yeah, I guess a 2 can because it's quad core. So I should still be able to do, well, I shouldn't say that, but yeah, I'm going to need an adapter for my 0 because it doesn't have USB-C on it, and I have a USB-C accelerometer, which is annoying. So I'm going to have to get like a micro to USB-C adapter so I can run Input Shaper. But okay. So I'm going to try and mount everything on here with a 0 and the Pico and make sure everything fits. And if it fits, I will put the files out right away. It should, but I just don't know 100%. And like I say, I just need to make sure this extruder, just move the extruder down a bit more because this Bowden is really not good. Okay, cool. Like I know you can run Input Shaper on a Pi 0, like actually while you're printing, it will run input shaping, but you can't calibrate it on a 0. So, but I know a 2 is much more powerful. But yeah, this is running off my laptop because I had every intention in just using the accelerometer and plugging it into my laptop USB. But I will need some sort of... I do have a hub for my 0, so I could just use the hub or an OTG cable. So I could probably do that. I do have a couple of those. There's a magnet on here, but... So I'll figure it out. But I'm going to end the stream here, guys. Thanks everyone for joining and chatting with me and just hanging out. I'm pretty excited about this printer. I think it's really cool. Yes, Chaz, this is no, this is the too small version. This is the too small version. I'm just wrapping up the stream, but I accidentally made it too small. This is only 70 millimeter print area by like 90 print area. The real 120 version will be coming very soon. Yeah, that's what I was going to do is just calibrate on the laptop and then just take that, put it in my config. But the problem is my effector doesn't have holes for my accelerometer. I forgot to add the holes, so I got to take the printer apart just to do input shaping. So, but Chaz, this will be on printables, this little tiny version called whatever, Tiny or Min or something like that. It's its own printer now. It's a tiny little minuscule printer, but the real proper version, and now I know what size this is, I can easily make the real thing. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet little printer. I'm pretty happy with it, and it prints very well for what it is. So um, I'll try to post some pictures on Discord, like an actual picture of the prints that I'm getting off of it. Googly eyes would be hilarious on this. Yeah, unfortunately, John, the accelerometer won't work on bamboo hot ends. So it won't fit on a bamboo hot end. So I don't use, you should put an accelerometer on your nozzle. That is the best way to do it. But on genuine bamboo hot ends, that won't work. So I run just a 5-sec accelerometer. Yeah, post all the names you think are cool on Discord, and I'll post some pictures of this guy and some prints and stuff like that. And I'm gonna see if this Pico fits in here. If it does fit in here with a V0, I'll give you the files either today or tomorrow. But yeah, thanks again everyone for watching, and I'm hoping all of you will build these deltas and modify them and just have fun messing around with delta printers. This is very cool, and I think you'll be pretty surprised by them. So thanks again everyone. I'm going to end the stream here, and I'll catch you all on Discord.